Hello, everyone, and today we'll have an enormously interesting interview with the big traveler, musician, and great English teacher from Dublin, Ireland, John Stokes. John lived a couple of years in Ivano-Frankivsk, uh, western part of Ukraine, where I come from, and there we met. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it was on one of the presentations, or it was just on the street. Well,
I don't know.
uh, maybe it was a TEDx conference, I consider. And so
Maybe.
today, we'll talk about John's experience of visiting different countries, his passion and talent for playing string instruments, and his methods of teaching English. Hi, John. Long time no see. How is your life and what's new?
Hi, Mark. All is good with me. I have moved on from Ukraine now. I'm back in Ireland more than a year,
Mhm.
and life is good. I have no complaints.
See, we all still remember you and
As
your marvelous playing talent for playing stringed instruments. Like
thank you for saying
that's
that.
our
I always remember Ivano-Frankivsk too. It was a great time in my life. I was there for 5 years,
oh, five
and
years.
yeah, and it was a great time for me. I loved it. I loved the people there. I loved the naturalness, the ease of life. It was very different to the Ireland that I had left behind, because Ireland has become very regimented, very strict laws, and everybody very
Mhm.
compliant. But Ukraine was much more free and much more interesting to me.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting actually. But since my channel is related to teaching English, I just like to offer to first to speak about English. And the first question to you will be: what methods of teaching English do you use in class?
Okay,
I
so
remember you were an English teacher in Ukraine, and once you even visited my group in university.
yes,
Yeah. And
yes.
what are your methods of teaching English?
Okay, so when I'm holding a class, I like to talk about things that really interest people. And for me, that's the most important thing. So I don't talk about the usual things that are often talked about because I find that people are a little bit bored with them. So I talk about quite controversial subjects, and that might move into argument or debate. But I
Mhm.
find that people are really interested to express something, that they learn English much better. So if they really want to make a point, if they really want to say something, then they will pick up the English to say it quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just
that would be.
you just have to rely on their passions, and if you ask, you figure out their passions, and then you ask them some questions
It's
related to their
okay. No, yeah,
qualifications.
it's not like I figure it out. I don't work that way. I work intuitively.
Uh-huh.
So I just start
Okay.
talking. I just start talking and I see where the conversation goes.
Mm.
And I gauge it from people's responses. And so we navigate from there. And it's a way that has worked for me, but it's my style. Everybody has their own style.
Yes, but
Uh,
not everybody has this kind of sense of intuition.
yes,
Some
that's
people
something
are.
that you develop. That's something that it takes time to develop. And I suppose I have devoted a lot of energy, a lot of concentration to developing that intuition. And it's an interesting word in English because it breaks down into in and tuition. So it's teaching, tuition is teaching from inside. So it is a deeper level of knowing than just thinking, because you can think about something and it's quite a shallow level. But at the intuitive level, you just know.
I think that you have to tell this information to most English teachers who teach English at schools, because
Okay.
yes, they give some texts,
Yeah.
not just to retell, but to learn them by heart. And
Yes.
most children don't like this, and that's why they don't like learning English. And we
Yes.
have a big problem. Um, uh, I don't think that it's just not the problem of teachers. Maybe this is also the problem of a system. But anyway,
Yeah.
the teachers have to do something with the system. If the system is not okay,
That's
they
right.
have to come up with something else. So
Yes.
not
Yes.
just rely on the program, but to listen to their own, like you said, insight insight to their passions, to their
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way to go.
and but still, could you give us 3 main tips on how to learn English fast? Do you have your own recipe?
Yeah. One thing I would recommend for people is little yellow post-its, those sticky pieces of paper.
Stickers, yes, stickers.
Yeah. And put them up all over the house with the names of whatever it is: the stairs, the bed, the wall, the window, all the usual words of the house. That's very useful, because if you're looking at them every day, if you keep looking at them, you pick up those words on quite a deep level, and you can use them quite easily. You don't have to think about it. And that's the place you want to get to, the place where you don't have to think the Ukrainian word and then translate it into English. You do not want to do that. It takes too long, it takes too much energy, and you want to think directly into the English. And the only way to do that is get very, very, very familiar with a lot of words.
Mm-hmm. I see. This is a good method.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's a
using
very
it
good.
in planning, not just
Yeah,
in words, but in planning,
yeah,
in aims. But I want something, I just put the sticker, boom, on the wall.
good. Yes.
Well,
Where you'll see it, where you'll keep seeing it, where you can keep speaking it, and really important to speak it when you read it, because that goes to a different place. If you just read it, you will not remember so well. But if you read it out loud, if you speak it, then you will remember.
it's sorts of affirmations.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and affirmation is a very powerful way to bring change.
So
Yeah.
it works. So affirmation with English words, correct? But also with some aims and dreams. We have to speak out all our dreams and aims. What do you think? That will
Yes,
work.
I think it's very powerful to put them into a very positive statement and say them. It really makes a big difference. People think that if they have a dream, if they have something that they want to bring into their lives, that just wanting it is enough. But actually, saying it has another power. The old magical formula, abracadabra, is based on saying. It's from the Aramaic, it's from a very ancient language, but it means I see what I say, or I manifest what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very powerful thing. If you use it consciously, you can begin to explore it and see the effects. It's extraordinary.
Cool. Do you know any other tips, or just this is the main one?
Uh, yes, I would also, and it's kind of old fashioned, but actually it's good, is get one page of text, and a text that you know fairly well and is interesting to you and has a good variety of tenses, and just read that text in English over and over and over and over and over again
Mhm.
out loud. One page. People make the mistake of stretching themselves too much, and they keep reading. They read another book, they read another essay, they read another, and they're struggling all the time. But if you get one page that you master, that you know really well, there's a lot of grammatical constructions, there's a lot of vocabulary, there are a lot of tenses, and they all go in at a deep level without you learning them as grammar, without you learning them as verbs and tenses. You are picking them up. That's the way a child learns, is they're just listening to conversation and repeating.
Very interesting. So it's like repetition. So basically, the first one is stickers. The second one is repetition. Yes.
Yes.
And what about the final one?
Speak it, speak it. You can't learn English if you're not going to speak it. If you go every week to a class, or twice a week, that's good, but you've got to speak it as well. Find a way. On the internet now, it's not hard. You can link up with somebody who's learning, or you can, you might have an interest, and that links you into a group, and then you can talk to people, even if it's just writing text, using the English and keeping it flowing, because it is a flow of energy.
So basically, we can join some English clubs, yes, communities where we can speak
Yes.
English in groups, about our interests.
That's it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, yes, and particularly about passions, the things that you really care about, the things that you're really interested in. If you can get talking about that, it's a great incentive to want to express more clearly.
Yeah. So as an English teacher and Irish native speaker, could you teach us 3 common Irish English words or expressions that would be useful for us? Maybe Irish slang.
Okay, it's hard to imagine how they could be useful, but I'm going to tell you some anyway. Sure look is one. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean anything like it sounds. So you say, sure, look, look as in look with your eyes. You say, sure, look, after you've described maybe something terrible or something dramatic or something negative. And so you say, like, somebody got sick yesterday, but sure, look.
Sure look.
And but sure, look.
I see. Shall look.
And it means, life happens. It means don't take it too seriously.
So could you make a context with this expression? Shall look.
Sure, look. It's sure. S-U-R-E.
Sure look.
So I might describe a hard day yesterday. So I might say, I went to the hospital. The doctors wouldn't see me. It was very difficult, but sure, look.
I see. Cool. And what about the other ones?
Okay, and then you can also say, sure, listen. And that has much the same meaning. Sure, listen.
Sure, listen.
Sure, listen.
Yeah.
Okay. A whale of a time. Did you ever hear that?
A whale of a time.
Yeah.
It's familiar. Yes, it's familiar for me. Yes, it's a whale of a time. A whale of a time. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great time. We had a lot.
We had fun. We had a blast. Yeah. Does it mean the same?
Yes. Yes, very much the same territory.
So a whale in the meaning of like a big mammal, yes, a big animal, this
Yes,
ocean
yeah,
animal, a whale of a time.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
oh, pretty good. So the three ones, yeah, already.
Okay, and then
Uh-huh.
I'll give you another one. Go way out of that. Go way out of that.
Go away out of
Go
that.
way, go way out of that.
Uh-huh. It means
And
uh-huh.
you say that to somebody who is pulling your leg. Do you know that expression?
Yes,
Pulling
yes,
your leg.
yes,
So they're joking or they're
yes.
faking something, and then you say to them, "Go way out of
Don't take it close to your heart, or what?
that." Go way out of that is stop playing around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Stop playing around, stop horsing around. Yes. Okay.
exactly. Of course,
Yeah. Fooling around. Yes.
fooling around. Yeah,
I
horsing
see.
around would be much more English.
Uh-huh. But Irish is more like playing around. Yes.
In Irish, no, yeah, no, you wouldn't say horsing around so much in Ireland.
Uh-huh.
In England, you'd say that a lot. In
Uh-huh.
England, in Ireland, maybe not so
Yes,
much,
yes,
but you
but
would say
but in Ireland,
to
what can you say in Ireland for this expression?
um, fooling around, messing
Fooling around.
around,
Uh-huh.
messing
I,
around.
I heard also goofing around.
Goofing around is American, but it's a good one.
Uh-huh.
I like the sound of it. It's very playful.
I see. I see. Um,
Because
yes.
a lot of words in the Irish language actually, or in the English language, actually have their roots in Irish. So, for instance, in the British Parliament, the Conservative Party, they're called Tories.
Mhm.
Okay, the Tories, they're the Conservatives. But that comes from an Irish word. And Toríha in Irish meant awful people, like really bad people. So it's funny that it's used now as the name for the Conservative Party. There's a lot of truth in
I see. I see. Um, could you describe Irish? Uh, could you please give us a few characteristics of Irish?
it. Okay. Irish, like Ukrainian, is a much slower language than English. English is a very business-like language. English is very legalistic. And so you can say something in English in a very few words, and it would take you twice that length in Irish.
Mhm.
And Ukrainian is much the same. You don't say things quickly in Ukrainian. It's much slower. There's a completely different pace to it. Whereas English is very cut and dry and precise, legalistically precise.
I see. Very interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I wish I were in Ireland, like because like we have uh, we need to make a visa to go to Ireland, and it's really difficult for our country. Still, we have
Yes.
the free visa regime with the EU, but with the UK and Ireland, it's really tough to get a
Mm.
visa.
Yes.
We
Oh,
still
it's
have this, this amendment, Jason Vanek's amendment about like the poor country, and
okay.
it's not taken away. It's still present. So we
Okay.
work.
That
uh,
stops you from coming.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Uh-huh.
Okay. Mm.
So you lived in Ukraine, but you are from Ireland. And what are the main similarities and differences of Irish people and Ukrainians?
Okay. Deep down, I was very, very amazed to find that Ukrainians and Irish are very similar.
Really?
The sense of humor is very much the same. And that sense of humor is quite different from, for instance, the Polish or the German. It's very different. And the Irish and the Ukrainian, very, very similar. There is a great love of literature and poetry in Ukraine, and the same thing in Ireland. It's a very ancient thing because the Druids, you know, the Druidic class, they were the ancient magical people of Ireland, from the original civilization here. They became the Fili, which are the poets. So instead of making spells, they were making poetry, but the poetry, you know, had an element of magic to it. And there are very interesting parallels too, in terms of, for instance, the Lyric in Ukraine was blind usually. And in Ireland, the harpers were blind. Yes, very interesting.
Why were they blind? What happened?
Who knows? Like, why was that? That's very interesting. Why was it? You know, it probably rendered them much more sensitive to the sound, and probably meant that they went to a different level with that sensitivity and with the music. But that was the case, that they were always blind.
Wow. Really ridiculous similarities, I would say.
Yeah. Yes, and also, after being in Ukraine for a long time, I found that there's a place in Ukraine called Kam'yana-Mohila. Maybe you've heard of it. And it's
maybe.
Okay, so it's a very ancient stone place. And it's exactly the same layout as a very ancient stone place in Ireland. A place called Knowth, Knowth. And Knowth has very fascinating artwork, very fascinating architecture, aligned to the stars, aligned to a very precise alignment to the stars, much like the pyramids of Egypt. And those two places, Kam'yana-Mohila and Knowth, are exactly the same in their layout.
I'm not sure what Mohila you are talking about, like Kam'yana-Mohila or Askoldova Mohila?
No, Kam'yana-Mohila. Kam'yana-Mohila.
Where is this situated?
It's towards the east of the country. Yes, central east.
Central east, okay.
Yeah.
And Irish humor, you said that Irish humor is really similar to Ukrainian one, yes. I remember talking to one Irish girl, and we were laughing, we were on the same wavelength. Maybe, I don't know, like for 3 hours or 4 hours, we laughed non-stop. It seemed to me that we were raised in the same yard, in the same, I don't know, like it's like she was like my sister.
Yes,
and
there's the same
really surprised.
Yeah, it's true, and I felt that many times in Ukraine, that there was no cultural divide that I had to cross, that people would understand me, that I would understand them, and that we would get each other very quickly.
So how does this Irish humor look like? Is it sarcastic? Is it ironical?
Yes, there's plenty of sarcasm. I would say quite a lot of it is very character-based. And that's similar to Ukraine, you know, where the humor really amplifies the character, and you really get the laugh out of who the person is and how they operate, more than clever wordplay. Like the English do very clever wordplay, and double meaning the English do. The Irish don't do double meaning.
I see. Yeah, interesting. I like double meaning a lot.
Okay. I'm on the other team. I don't like it at all.
Really? You are straightforward. Like,
It's straightforward.
I see. Sometimes I like double meaning. Sometimes it depends on the mood. Yes.
But English is the language for it because English has so many double meanings. So
Sometimes
many.
you can say a word, and then it can dawn on me that I said like actually another meaning of this word, and
Yes.
this word may
Yeah.
look really strange and ridiculous in this context. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And
Cool.
especially phonetically. So, for instance, I wake I wake in the morning, and so I wake in the morning. Wake has to do with death. It's what you do when people die. Morning, Morning, has to do with when people die.
Yes, yes, yes. Morning,
Yeah,
grief and sorrow. Yeah.
yeah. And
Sorry, I'm late.
I go through the week. I go through the week, and the week I'm weakened by the weekend. By the weekend, I'm weakened. Weekend and weekend are almost the same.
Uh-huh. Good morning. How morning can be good? Yes.
That's sarcastic humor. That's dark
Yes,
humor.
yes, yes.
Every
Or
morning is
late,
good.
for example. Late. I have some bad associations with late. Yes.
Yeah.
Late also has like meanings, like different meaning. Late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Late. Yes. Yes. Late is what you use if somebody has passed away.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, I'm late. No, you are still alive. Yes.
Trust me, Mark, you have died. This is the next level. You have reached it. Go
Yeah.
back.
With you, maybe on the international level, yes, maybe it's a like upper level. Okay, I was wrong. Uh,
You have crossed the threshold.
yes, yes, the doorway. Yes. So, why did you decide to start traveling, and you decided to stay in Ivano-Frankivsk in Ukraine for so long? Did you feel that this is a secret holy place for you, or what? Why Ivano-Frankivsk?
Yes, I had a very, very strong connection with the place and with the people. It all unfolded effortlessly and intuitively again. So I came to Ukraine. The minute I crossed the border into Ukraine, I felt at home in a way that I did not feel in Poland or Germany or anywhere else. I just felt completely at home. And that was a big surprise. And then I traveled a bit. I went to the mountains with my friend Ella. We lived up in the Carpathian Mountains for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I returned to Ivano-Frankivsk. I had been there on the way, but I didn't feel any strong connection with it when I was passing through. But when I returned, I had a very strong sense of connecting with it. I made many friends very quickly, and I really felt that it was my place. I was really happy there. It was very stimulating. It was a great time in Ivano-Frankivsk as well. A lot of awakening was going on. It was like the city had been in a long sleep and was beginning to emerge from that and move into a much more stimulating place. So it was a
Wow.
great time.
That's why I cannot get out of here. That's the reason. Yes. Um, I guess Germans and Dutch are more distant, and we are
A
more.
lot more,
Mhm.
a lot more distant. I know the Dutch quite well. I used to go to Holland quite a bit, so I got to know them, and I liked them. they were nice people. They look good. They're very attractive. They speak good English. Everything was easy. But very quickly, I came to the limit, and I felt I couldn't get to know them beyond that. They're really very, very reserved people. And it's not even deliberate. I feel that they don't know themselves.
Yeah, but on the contrary, we Ukrainians don't speak English so well, you know.
You don't, but you express much better. You express much more. And I knew what was going on with Ukrainian people very quickly. Even if they didn't have much English, I could feel what was going on. But with Dutch, with Germans, it wouldn't be like that.
Well, it's unique for us to meet such a person as you are, because you are from Ireland. It's unique. Personally, I don't meet so many people from Ireland in our country.
No, you wouldn't, I suppose. Yeah.
Maybe from Great Britain, yes, more often, and in this case, maybe like they came from the UK just to monitor our elections. I cooperated with them from the UK, from London, from Great Britain, but I didn't meet a person from Ireland.
Yes, it's more rare. There are much fewer people in Ireland than in the UK. And they do travel, but they go to particular places. And so far, they haven't been to Ukraine much. I don't know why. I would think that it would be a very good plan to bring more Irish people to Ukraine, bring more Irish music to Ukraine. I think it could be very stimulating.
Why did you decide to come back to Ireland then?
There was no decision. It was an intuition. I had a very strong feeling, time to move. And at that time, the feeling was to go to Georgia. So that's where I went after Ukraine.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Georgia,
I was in
Georgia, Tbilisi, not Georgia, Atlanta.
No, I've been there too. That's another story. Georgia, Tbilisi, yeah.
Yeah. And how did you like Georgia? As I think that they are even more hospitable than we are, Georgians.
There is a great tradition of hospitality, but to me, it's not so real. I much preferred Ukrainian honesty. Ukrainian people are much more honest. So you know, they're
straightforward.
Straightforward, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and I appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that, especially now when political correctness has notched up. It has notched up a lot, and people are afraid to say anything now. You know, they're watching every word, and they're very careful. Yeah.
Yes, I am not a fan of political correctness either.
No, that's good. Yeah, I don't like it at all. It's dangerous. I've seen it in action when I lived in New York, and I had a good friend. She was a white woman. She was living on the Upper West Side. She was well-to-do. And if I said black person, she would get really angry. And she would go, "What are you saying? You know, it's African American." That was the politically correct.
Even for black people.
I couldn't say that at that time. Now, the politically correct term has changed now. Now, black is politically correct. But at that time, black was not politically correct. African American was the only politically correct term.
And now it's vice versa. African American is politically incorrect.
It's crazy stuff, the political correctness.
I heard such a saying that political correctness is the manifestation of a low self-esteem.
Yes.
Is it true or not? Yes.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot in that statement, and it seems quite true because it means you're hiding, and you're finding the words that everybody will like, but you're not really daring to express what's going on with you. And the thing is that what you hide really takes over because that becomes your shadow, that becomes a big force in your unconscious, and it builds, it grows. If you don't express, then that stuff just increases.
Mhm. But sometimes girls beat me for my straightforwardness. Straightforward. Like, why is so honest? Like, but I say I have to be. Do you want me to lie to you? And
Yeah,
actually, I feel that a person, maybe he or she may hate me, but after that, he or she can improve
yeah,
and could do something with that. But if I
yes,
say maybe you are good, but no, like that you are good. Oh, maybe yes.
yeah,
I cannot say that your knowledge is not enough. Yes,
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that.
Yes,
You,
if we challenge,
uh,
yeah, if we challenge each other, then there's the potential to grow. But if there's no challenge to each other, nothing changes. Everything gets very boring.
Unfortunately, there are so few people who think that political correctness is bad. So few people nowadays.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say a lot more in Ukraine than in Ireland. An awful lot more.
Mhm.
In
It
Ireland,
might be
nobody.
scary. Uh, they are more straightforward. Yes, in Ireland.
No, they are very,
Vice versa.
very,
Vice versa.
very politically correct.
I see.
In Ukraine,
Uh,
people are much more straightforward.
I see. Because
If
like,
somebody is if somebody is angry in Ukraine, they tell you, I'm angry, and you leave it behind. The next day, it's no big deal. Whereas in Ireland, they will hide it. No, I'm not angry. No, 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 I'm not angry. Oh, no, no, no,
everything
no, no.
fine. Yeah.
And it will stay there.
Mhm. And it's bad for person to keep it inside. All these negative emotions. Um, it's
Yes,
just,
if you repress your negativity, it only grows and people feel it, even though you don't speak it, they feel it. And it's not pleasant. Much better to get it out and to learn to express it and let it go then.
Mhm. My former interlocutor from the United States, he lived here maybe for 9 months, and he said
Yeah.
that Ukrainians are really straightforward. So
Yes.
he has never seen such a nation that
I'm
is
sure.
more straightforward. Mhm.
I'm sure America is very politically correct. You watch every word that you say and you're very careful about your words because people get very, very hurt. Just use the wrong word in America in the wrong place and they will hate you.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely, 100%. I am sure I agree with you, and.
Mm.
Uh, I think that like 50% of people are not already watching us after this. Yeah. uh, what I was going to say, yeah, definitely. And you did probably that person didn't speak to Russians because Russians are over straightforward. So
Oh, yeah.
they might cross the line even of this. We are something in between.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a kindness in Ukrainians that to me is beautiful, but Russians are much more.
Mhm. Um, John, so what three things did you like and three things you disliked about Ukraine?
Okay, so we spoke about the honesty, the straightforwardness of people. I
Yes.
liked that a lot. That was a breath of fresh air for me after the EU, after Europe, and all the political correctness there. So that was one thing. The connection between people is very powerful. And when you're living in Ukraine, you take it for granted to some extent. And you kind of think everywhere is like that, but it's not.
Mhm.
And it might look like that on the outside. It might look like people are connecting, but really they're not connecting. They're very separate. And so I really appreciated that sense of connection between people. It was
Mhm.
very much the way Ireland used to be. The Ireland that I grew up was like that. People
Why do
were,
you think that this kind of changes happened? That Ireland used to be like
Mhm.
more straightforward, yes, and
Yeah.
now what has happened? What was
Well,
the
it's a long process of colonization by bureaucracy. You know, the EU is now the ruler, and the EU makes up rules that everybody has to follow, and nobody even knows who they are. They don't know what's going on in any country particularly. They're aimed towards Germany or France, but they don't really, they're not in touch with what's happening in Ireland. And so the force of the EU has got stronger and stronger.
what about three things you disliked about Ukraine?
What did I dislike? It's hard for me to remember anything that I disliked. Uh, whoa, that's a tricky one. Tell me something that you dislike, and then we'll discuss that. What do you
Well,
dislike
in Ukrainians or in Ukraine?
in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, maybe the roads.
Okay. But you see, that for me had a lot of charm because it meant that people were not driving quickly in the way that they do in Germany, you know, and there wasn't this sense of busy roads everywhere full of traffic. So I loved it when I went into the Ukrainian countryside and they were bad roads and there was no car on the road at night, like nothing moving. That to me is precious and it won't be there for long. And when it's gone, you'll
Mhm.
probably miss it because there's a
Yes.
great peace. There's a great peace to that.
Mhm. Maybe so. It's not a disadvantage for you, roads. Yes, it's a charm.
No, it was quite charming for me. I enjoyed it,
Oh,
and
so
it
for
meant that
example,
yeah,
uh, like as for me, the big disadvantage is
yeah,
that people in Ukraine don't take away the crap after dogs and cats, like on the streets.
okay, yes.
It's like
Ukrainian people said that to me often, and they thought that Ireland would be much better. But when I look around in Ireland, I'm not at all sure that it is better. There are big fines, but nobody really cares about that because you know you're not going to get caught. So people often skip doing the thing that they need to do, and they often leave rubbish. And I've seen it everywhere in Ireland. I've seen it in very beautiful places where people just throw trash. And I would say Ukraine is a lot better for that. There's less trash.
mhm. Oh, maybe I'm not talking about trash, but I'm talking about some crap, from dogs and cats.
Okay, I'll have to pay attention to that when I go out again. I'm not sure about the crap. I think people do pick it up here.
Yes, and in Ukraine, I think that there is still a big problem with that,
Okay.
and because of homeless dogs on the streets, and
Oh, that was a problem, actually. That was a problem I encountered in Frankivsk.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, because like these dogs can not just like bark, but they can bite you. And
Yes.
we have the house like the Sirko house, like Dim Sirka, but this house is of dogs is like the shelter is overwhelmed by dogs, and we still need some places for dogs, and sometimes we have some floods, and cats and dogs are all over the place, like in our city. Still, there was something done, but not in our city, but in big cities in Ukraine, when we accepted Euro, like football championship, in 2012, in Lviv, in Kiev, and in Kharkiv, in all Odessa, in all these big cities. They built some special shelters. They took away homeless dogs, but not in our city, because our city didn't host this championship. So it again it remained ignored.
Yes, and it is a big problem, because I saw them in Ivano-Frankivsk. The dogs, the homeless dogs, would get together and form a group, and they would get quite vicious. They really would attack you. They were dangerous.
And sometimes I dislike services, like the service in like big malls, in big supermarkets. Sometimes, in my opinion, it has to be better. It is improving. It's not like it was 10 years ago. It's improving, but really slowly. Still, want like, hello, how are you? But like go the same questions, like, do you need a packet, like a package? Like, no, I don't need it. I want something from you, some like interesting questions, just you can interact. Like, in my opinion, a big disadvantage. It's, on the one hand, people are, as you said, they are like, how to say, like unique. They are close, but to each other, but still they are not open. They don't communicate. They don't want to communicate.
Yes, I know. But it's fun to go through that wall and see if there's a way to open up the possibility. Because, coming from a Soviet time, it's very understandable that people didn't want to communicate. People hid a lot. People were careful in public.
Yes, that's what it was on the tip of my tongue, actually, because it remained from the remnants of the Soviet Union. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another very interesting parallel between Ukraine and Ireland, because the history of Ukraine's relationship with Russia and Ireland's history with Great Britain is very, very similar. There are many parallels, and to me those parallels are very interesting, considering what I described before, the ancient sites. But for instance, the British used starvation as a way to control the Irish population. So in the space of 3 years, they cut the population in half. Probably 7 million people died. And that was out of a population of 11. So it was a huge...
Yes, the same in Ukraine. Yes. Like Holodomor, or like it was a genocide, like hunger genocide of all people.
Yeah,
people ate people, and rats, whatever. They just died. Relatives. It was awful. Like in the central part of Ukraine, in the eastern part of Ukraine, it was just horrible.
Yeah, that's right.
Popularity. You have a big brother. Wow. We have a big brother. But it seems to me that our big brother is more cruel than your big brother. Yes.
It's the empire, and the Russian flag and the British flag have exactly the same colors.
No,
red,
really, I didn't think about.
Yes, blue.
Really.
Yes. Yeah. It's exactly the same deal. They were the royals and they were the empire.
Nice point. A nice point. I didn't notice. Yes. It was hard to say because like they were just like horizontal on the Russian flag, and you have these crosses and like
That's
this
right.
cross, and it's hard. It was hard to say.
Yes, but they're exactly the same shade of color. Yeah, and for instance, Netherlands has the same colors in their flag.
A lot of countries, like a lot of countries.
A lot of countries. And that
France,
tells you.
Mhm.
That's right. And that tells you a lot because the symbolism in the flags is very definite and very clear.
Yes, and so many French colonies, and besides, not only France but Yugoslavia, for example,
Yeah.
Serbian
Mhm.
flag.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
We think
Interesting.
all this. So, John, what did you know about Ukraine before coming here? And what do Irish know about Ukraine?
I knew very little.
Oh.
I knew very little about Ukraine. To me, it was all under the tag of Russia. And I knew very little. I didn't pretend to know. I didn't think that I knew anything. So that was very interesting. It meant it was completely new. And it was very exciting to discover something of the history and the culture of Ukraine. So it was a very fascinating journey. And especially with connections with Ireland and those parallels that I spoke of, that became more and more interesting to me the longer I spent there.
Interesting. So, when are you going to visit Ukraine one more time?
Oh,
When
I would love to, but
what does your intuition
it
say?
really doesn't. My intuition isn't giving me a reading on that. My intuition is you're here now, and that's where it's at.
I see.
So I have to be in Ireland. I don't like Ireland now. It's very, very ugly to see what's happening in Ireland, but I'm here for the moment and I will make the best of it.
So let's wait for some signs from your inner intuition. Maybe your intuition will give you some signs, and after that, you will just make a decision to go.
Oh, yeah. The intuition always comes in the present moment. It never tells you about the future. So your
really?
intuition never ever says you're going to go to Ukraine in a year. There's no future as far as the intuition. The intuition is fully in the present. And so when you're tuning into your intuition, you get messages to do something now. And you might not understand exactly why you would do it now. But if you follow the intuition, it will unfold and it will be good for you.
Can your intuition or intuition in general be mistaken?
No, not
never.
in my experience. It is never mistaken. Never mistaken. Not in my experience.
Your
the mistakes. Huh? The mistakes come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
The mistakes come when you interfere with the intuition, when you start doubting it and thinking, why, and you make it much more complicated. Intuition is always very simple and clear. Just take this step now. And when you follow that, it leads somewhere else. And very often you really don't know where it's leading to. And you get a surprise when you see.
So how do you define intuition?
Like me ending up in Ukraine. So it's an inner knowing.
Inner knowing.
Yeah, it's an inner knowing. Yeah. and it is very clear, it's very strong, it's very simple, but it's also very subtle. So if you're up in your head and thinking a lot of things and getting complicated, you won't hear your intuition. You have to clear a space where there's nothing going on much. And then in that space, your intuition will start to register. But there are ways to help that along. For instance, if you're considering a decision, I'm thinking about, going here or going there or going somewhere else. If you list those three options in your mind visually, and you just ask for one of them to light up, then your intuition will work with you, and so will show you where is right for you. Maybe none of them will light up, so that means something.
Very interesting. So your hobby is to play musical instruments. What musical instrument do you play in Irish?
I can't stand that word hobby. It makes me want to tear my hair out. Hobby is something that a British woman does on Tuesday afternoon. She collects stamps or something like that. It's not a hobby. Music.
What about calling?
Yeah. What?
About calling? Calling? Is it calling?
Calling is good. Calling is good. Passion. It's a passion. Music has always been a passion for me. I was playing piano from a young age, and I still love to play piano and ukulele. Ukulele, I really only developed that when I went traveling, and I bought a ukulele because it was light. It was easy to carry when I was traveling. But in Ukraine, then that progressed, and I found myself writing songs on the ukulele and singing and really enjoying the experience.
So what musical instrument do you play? And
I play piano. Piano is my first instrument.
Yeah, but in Ivano-Frankivsk you played not piano.
No, in Ivano-Frankivsk I played ukulele.
Ukulele.
Ukulele is a Hawaiian instrument with four strings.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 strings.
So it was not Irish.
It's not Irish. It's Hawaiian.
Yes. Yeah. What about a harp? The harp is associated with Ireland. Do Irish play harp?
Yes. There's a great tradition of harp playing. There's a lot of beautiful music for harp written in Ireland. There was the famous blind harpist Carolyn, and his music is still played. It's very beautiful.
Why did you choose ukulele while you were playing downtown in Ivano-Frankivsk? Why this?
Ukulele was very versatile. It was very portable. You can bring it easily. You can pack it up easily, and so it was ideal for me. I couldn't bring
the piano. Yes.
Piano is too much of a big deal.
Did you finish music school, or you were like self-educated?
I was more self-educated, but I did go to the Royal Irish Academy of Music to learn piano, and I did pretty well there. My teacher, she said I was good, but I didn't like the strictness and the control of the teaching, so I left it, and I continued to teach myself, and I'm glad that I did, because my real passion, my real power is creativity, and in the world of classical music, that's frowned upon. They really do not like creative talent. They like people to play the old stuff and keep playing the Beethoven and all that, but they don't like people to be creative. They will tell you, no, wait until later you can do that. So that didn't suit me.
You must be a very disciplined person if you continued like self-educating after dropping from music school.
Yes, I continued to play and I was composing. So that was an education in itself. I had learned a lot of good stuff in the time I was there, and it served me well. It was good material, phrasing in the piano playing that I didn't know before, but I really appreciated it. But it was time for me to leave, and I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm. What role does music play in your life?
It has played a very big role in my life, always. I loved music from a very early age. Sound now is probably more important to me than music itself. Sound to me is a great tool for exploration of consciousness, for going deeper, and for activating places in our being that we wouldn't usually access.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And what I always wondered, what do you do in life? Like, because I know you as an English teacher, as a traveler.
Okay, it's always changing.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
it's always challenging. It's always changing. It's always changing. I never know what I'm going to do next. When I came back to Ireland, I've been casting around. I don't know if you know that expression. Casting around. It means, I'm looking for what am I going to do next? What's the next step? And now it is clear to me what it is. So that's going to take off in the next short period, and that will be interesting for me, a completely new direction.
Mm-hmm. So your life comprises some short periods. Yes, I would say short
Different
periods.
phases, yeah, there are phases. I lived
Phases,
somewhere.
phases.
I lived in New York for 7 years. Uh, I lived in Ukraine for 5 years. I lived in Spain, in Granada for some time. I lived in Denmark, Copenhagen for some time. I lived in Poland for some time.
Mm-hmm. Cool, cool. So you saw a lot.
I did. I saw a lot. There was a big scale to my life. When I look back, it was pretty astonishing, the scale of it.
Mm-hmm. John, what are your dreams and goals for the future? Or you'll still listen to your heart, to your intuition? Or you make
Yeah, listening to my
Mhm.
listening to my intuition is the key. I don't really bother with dreams anymore. They can be useful in terms of motivating you at a certain period, but then there's a certain period comes when they're not so useful, when they get in the way. And now I'm in this stage of life where everything unfolds in its own way, and I just need to stay present to that.
Did you have such a period of time, maybe like in your childhood or when you were an adolescent, when you wanted to become wealthy so much, like, and you had some goals, you had some dreams, and you chased this richness, this wealth? Did you have this, or you always listened to your
No,
heart?
I can't say that I always listened to my heart. When I was young, 19, 20, I wasn't listening to my heart at all. I was up in my head. But I wasn't chasing money either. It didn't mean that much to me. I
Mm,
didn't value it very much. It certainly never motivated me. I saw a lot of people around me getting very motivated to make money, but it never affected me that way. And now
mm,
I'm glad that I didn't go that way, because it isn't interesting to
What
me.
Lucky you are, I must say.
Yeah, I am very lucky.
I cannot boast it. I still maybe how stupid I am that I have still some goals and dreams. And when I look at myself, I realize that I am like on Earth temporarily. That's why should I have? I should listen to maybe my gut or
Yeah.
my heart as well. I'm not on
Yeah.
that level,
Yes.
on that space,
It's a journey. The whole thing is a journey. It's always changing. The thing is to just pay attention and go with it.
For me, life is unfortunately not a journey, but a process. Yes, a process.
Yeah.
But maybe it
Yeah.
should be a journey.
Well, a process is a journey. It's just a different way to describe it. Journey is kind of the mythological way of describing it. So the hero's journey, is a journey through different stages of life and different stages of the unconscious. But that is a process, for sure.
So you are definitely a spiritual person. And the last question for you, John, what 3 things should a person do to be happy in life?
Okay, 3 things to be happy in life.
Yeah.
Be here right now. That's the main thing, Keep bringing yourself here, because when you pay attention, and that's what it's all about, you find that you're gone. You're gone into the past. You're gone into the future. You're gone into a dream. You're dreaming off. But if you get yourself really present where you are, you find that your energy gets stronger. You become much more alive. And when you operate from there, it's very interesting what unfolds. Whereas if you're gone into the future, you can do that for your whole life. Many people do. They're always chasing something in the future. Doesn't matter whether it's an orgasm or money or whatever, but it's in the future and you're chasing it. And that means that you're not present. And the key to being happy is to get yourself right here, right now.
There are many people who are not in balance with their souls. Yes, a body and without a soul. So soul is on a different level. So maybe you know some techniques, because it's not an easy thing. It's easy to say, yeah. And I agree with you that like a person has to be at present now. But unfortunately, not all people can do this.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing that I would say to you is remember what you did as a child that made time stop. What was it that you did as a child that made time stop? Because that is a key to your being. If you can remember that, and if you can do it, that will take you into that presence that I'm talking about. So it might be painting, it might be singing, it might be dancing, it might be caring for people, whatever it is that brings you right into the present, that's where your journey takes you.
Okay, thanks for this point. And maybe you want to share some other things that a person should do to be happy in life, or only like to be present.
Okay, so there is the key. Things that a person should do. Take all the shoulds out of your life. Don't hang shoulds over yourself. I should do this, should do that, because it's only pressure.
Yeah. Instead of
it's
should,
really,
what shall I put instead of should?
Yes. What would you do is a happier one. Should in English implies that there's somebody who is looking and they're judging you. I should do this. That means that if I don't do it, it's bad. Yeah. So in English, it has quite a negative connotation if you really look at it.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah, because you are like an executive for yourself when you say should. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Okay. And the last one.
The last thing, what would I say? Go out into nature.
Mhm.
That's a big one. Make the connection with nature in what way feels good to you. Take off your shoes, go for a swim, go for a walk. But the connection with nature is a very grounding influence. It brings you into the present and it brings you into an innocence that you knew as a child. As a child, you were always happy when you went into nature. You could feel the power of it. And as an adult, you get trained out of it. And everything becomes books and, you know, all the sophisticated things of the city and all that. But nature is the core of who we are. We are natural beings.
I have nothing to add. Thanks, John, for such a wonderful, exciting, and really useful interview. Such a spiritual interview, I would say. Yes. I wish you all
Great.
my
Thank
best.
you very much.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing
Thank you
your
very much.
spiritual thoughts. Yeah. And take
Thank you
care.
very
Let's
much.
keep in touch.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Bye
Yes. All my
bye.
best. Bye bye.
Bye bye.